Bom, eu estou hoje aqui em Boston, Massachusetts, visitando um bairro de baixa renda chamado Chelsea, com uma organização incrível chamada Roca. Roca, ela trabalha de uma forma especializada em jovens em situação de risco social. A Roca atua com mais de 700 jovens por ano, dando novas oportunidades de vida. Eu estou aqui com Jason. Jason, could you please tell me a little bit about your work here in Roca?
I am a youth worker here. I deal with a lot of court-involved young people that have court cases for various acts of violence, drugs. I work with gang bangers that are out there in gangs, various gangs throughout the community. And I'm also a substance abuse counselor here at Roca, where I run, various classes on substance abuse and alcoholism to try to help these guys get off of drugs and out of the streets and try to do something different with their life.
And Jason, how do you start your history, your trajectory? Tell me a little bit about your life, please.
I grew up not too far from here in a town called Charlestown. It's about half a mile away from here. And growing up in the projects, the public housing that we had there in Charlestown, there was a lot of drugs, a lot of violence, a lot of crime. And at around 12 years old, I got into it. I jumped right into it. With substance abuse, doing all kinds of drugs, coke, heroin, pills, weed, drinking every day, and criminal activities that started off from stealing cars and all the way up towards, as a young adult, robbing banks. And, I got caught for robbing, allegedly got caught for robbing about 11 banks, and I was sentenced to 13 years in prison, state prison here in Massachusetts, a place called Walpole, which is a maximum security prison. I spent 13 years of my life up there. Was released when I was 32, when I was 17, 18, and and after being released, I was in prison and definitely was still involved in a lot of drug use, shooting heroin, selling drugs, getting in trouble.
Inside the prison?
Inside the prison, yes. There were a lot of drugs up there. Whatever you really wanted, the hypodermic needles for cocaine, for marijuana. We'd make our own alcohol in there. There was tons of heroin in there. That was the drug of choice throughout the inmates and convicts that are inside the prison throughout the state of Massachusetts, and there was a lot of it in there, and we got in a lot of trouble because of that. And I got hooked on heroin while I was incarcerated, and it brought me a lot of pain, a lot of trouble, a lot of time in the hole, locked up for 23 hours a day while I was incarcerated because of the trouble I got inside there. And right before I was supposed to be released, I decided that after my father had died, while I was in prison...
Tell me a little bit more about that, because that was your aha moment, the moment that you decide change your life inside the prison.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about that, please.
Well, I was in prison. I was on the prison block one night, and it was after lockdown. We were all in our cells, and a guard had came to my cell and tapped on the bars and told me that my father had just died. And he was 48 years old, and he had died from a cocaine overdose. And then he walked away. I had about 6 months to go on my prison sentence. I was still getting high at the time, and I wasn't able to go to my father's funeral, to my father's wake, to go pay my respects to my father. And I knew right then and there that this wasn't the life that I wanted to live anymore. I was never going to allow someone to dictate those things in my life. Not even allow me to go see my own father after he had passed away. I wasn't going to give anyone that power anymore. So that next morning, I took it back, and I finished up my sentence. I immediately got into recovery, went to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings daily, still do to this day. Clean and sober about 7 years, almost 7 years now, and I am here working at Roca with the young people that are making the same mistakes I did 20 years ago. I'm here now trying to stop that, trying to get in front of those mistakes and show them a different way so they can be productive citizens in this community someday.
And congratulations, you're a great example for them.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. But talk a little bit more about the reality, about gangs here in Boston. So here, how many gangs are, and tell me a little bit about that reality, please.
Well, the way that it is around here in Boston, in Suffolk County, which is Boston plus a lot of surrounding communities, the gangs are all broken up into neighborhoods. Just like any other community in the United States of America, LA, New York, Utah, Toledo, Ohio, we have problems with gang members. We have in this community alone, which is only 1.6 square miles big, Chelsea, Mass. We have MS-13, Latin Kings, Bloods, Vato Locos, Cholos, Crips, all these different gangs fighting for streets in this community, whether it be for drugs, prostitution, or just territory. And Our young people are getting killed over this. They're dying out there in the streets because of this gang lifestyle. So that's why we do gang outreach. We go out every day. We go after the kids that need it the most and bring them in here. Because we don't want a kid in Roca that has a high school diploma, that still living at home with both parents. Chances are he's going to be okay. He's going to make it somewhere. We're going after kids that are, 14 years old and pregnant and addicted to heroin, carrying guns. Those are the kids we want here. Those are the kids we want to make a difference in their life. So that's why Roca's here. We've been here 22 years and we're not going anywhere.
Right. And last question, what do you could say to inspire people who want to transform their life? What's your advisory?
My advisory is to try to look, even when life is the darkest, you have that darkness in your life. If you can try and find one thing, one glimmer of hope, whether it be a parent, or your brother's daughter, a niece, something in your life that you can find out that is happy and build from that. If it's drugs and alcohol, what I do every day is I get down on my knees in the morning and I ask God for help on a daily basis to keep me away from a drink and a drug for one day. And if I can't help anybody, please don't let me hurt somebody. And then with that, if I go through the day and I achieve those things, I tell God, thank you very much for the day, and I go to bed. I keep it very, very simple. Look in your community to the facilities that are in your communities, like Roca. If there's anything there, look, try to find them, get the information, go to those people and access help. Open your mouth, because a closed mouth never gets fed. You got to open your mouth and tell somebody what you're feeling, and you'd be amazed at the help you can get.
So thank you very much for your exemplarity, and it's really a pleasure meet you and Roca.
Yeah, you also, sir. Thank you.